I just think it can't be denied that we're at that stage where there's an expectation for constant access to information.
The idea that I can actually do live streaming video with a student, would never have dreamed of that when I started teaching. I'd been out of teaching for about 10 years when I just came back this last couple of years. So that to me is just like, futuristic.
What was this from yesterday? What? It was a very quiet what? A very quiet cricket. And what you're going to do is make a cricket with how many body parts? How many body parts? Three body parts. I have never used an iPad before, but I'm guessing it is going to kind of lend itself to this, media center. I'm going to be able to do something amazing with these children and these iPads.
You want to sit here? Well, the fact that the classroom or the number of the students are not a lot of numbers, so it will be good that they will have more time on the iPad and they feel really more comfortable using it than the computer. I think it's the new push of the technology.
That's great.
Mobile technology is a reality of everyday life. I can walk into any fast food restaurant and access the internet. Why would they stop me from doing that in a classroom? And why should the information we use for learning be bound by the resources we have there? If there's a whole world out there to be discovered, why would the classroom be the place to limit that? It would seem to be that would be the place we should first open it to students.
The use of technology for instruction in classrooms is growing, where it used to be that when we talked about teachers using technology, it was more for personal use or word processing, presentation opportunities in the classroom. But that certainly has changed to be more along the lines of teachers seeing the need and understanding how to integrate that into their classes.
Across the United States, there is a growing need to train teachers in mobile technology. In Northwest Ohio, the Educational Resource Center at WGTE Public Media provided iPads to 3 teachers. Mary, an English teacher, teaches at Waite High School in East Toledo.
We are, I forget the exact percentage, but I want to say it's an extremely high percentage of our students live on or below the poverty level. The faculty and administration at Waite are very student focused. There's a lot of deliberate work being done to make Waite a community school where there are community outreach, community focused events.
And then it has 2 antennas.
Amy and Manal teach in combined classrooms at the Islamic School of Greater Toledo. Amy teaches preschool and pre-K. Manal teaches kindergarten and first grade.
Right now, the Islamic School of Greater Toledo have a plan to grow. We have from preschool to first grade, and each year they are planning to increase 1 more grade, and we are hoping that we will get more students and to prepare them for the future.
Currently, all 3 teachers are using technology in the classroom, but it's not without its own set of challenges. Amy and Manal have a hard time using certain devices in the classroom setting.
We are enjoying the Chromebooks. I think it's just hard getting the children independent enough to really be a supplemental activity right now. It's just time consuming.
Mary, however, finds that her own lack of knowledge is a setback in her classroom.
I pretty much can use the overhead. I know how to work that. And I try to incorporate static, like PowerPoint presentations. We did have some teacher training on using Prezi, which is better, but it was just an introduction, and I'm not that, I can't take an introduction and run with it. I'm not quite that good. So, that kind of thing is I haven't gotten there yet.
All 3 teachers hope to see better results with the iPad.
People learn in different ways. Maybe one person learns better by hearing it, somebody else by seeing it, someone else has to touch it. And so by using technology, you can incorporate all those things and reach everybody more effectively.
I think there's going to be just something new, a new twist to some of the things that we already do, but it'll probably, make things a little more exciting, for them.
I think being able to offer the live streaming to the students with medical needs, it can, like I said, it can just offer so much more depth to their experience. And then for the kids that are in the classroom, not only does it show them that you can think outside the box. You don't have, that education isn't just sitting in a desk facing forward, writing on a piece of paper. That's useful, I think, for them to know.
The teachers were given iPads and a little bit of homework. The teachers were asked to create video diaries and talk about the successes and challenges of using mobile technology in their classrooms.
Some of the challenges we've faced, probably my own lack of being technologically savvy. It's just taking a little bit of time to do things as far as trying to use the projector or just even learning to download games.
No one wants to look foolish. And if you're a veteran teacher who didn't grow up with technology in your hands, I think that would be a challenge because you want to make sure that you know how to use it when you're up in front of your students, that you aren't making a lot of mistakes. And when teachers can get over that and look to understand that their students can be helpful to them and support them, I think that fear goes away.
The children are still super excited about it. They're still, always asking to use it. I think the next step for me as a teacher is to learn how to maybe integrate it in a more meaningful way or integrate it in a way that really is supporting what our lessons are at the moment.
I think a lot of times teachers look at trying to transform everything, and we know that doesn't work.
Find the thing that you hate teaching most and find the thing that really needs to be freshened up and rip it apart and rebuild it with technology.
Okay, so why don't we go over some apps? I did show Amy how to lock into one app.
I think if we can make sure that collaboration is available for teachers, support on the part of administration, and also for professional development for them to have an understanding of how this could work and enhance their lessons in their classroom, I think that will help engage teachers and encourage them to use it.
Professional development was offered to the teachers on site and also through training sessions at WGTE.
You're supposed to be able to swipe it and get to the modern, like you're supposed to just be able to swipe back and forth, but I don't know how to make it swipe.
Because I am intimidated. They ask me and I don't know what to do. Sometimes it's frozen from them or this and that, and I don't have too much experience like the kids playing with it.
Amy ran into a problem early on and needed a little help.
We were downloading apps, and then the next day, and they were working one day, the next day I was trying to use them and there was no sound. And then I thought what I was doing, which I think I was, probably uninstalling it, reinstalling it, thinking that would fix it. Nothing fixed, and this probably went on for several days, and all of our apps that were so useful, all of a sudden we were without them. And then you guys came.
Bag.
What did you do?
Okay, I think.
Bag.
Oh, that's so great.
So this menu at the bottom,
Bag.
anywhere you are, you click up and then click up again. And I think your sound was turned off
Oh, that's my
on
sound.
there.
Isn't that, I didn't know that was my sound. I thought it was some kind of an alarm. So that's the sound, and you told me, was it on airplane mode? It was some silly button I accidentally touched, and it just controlled all the sound on these apps.
Sometimes we get caught up in not wanting to make a mistake from how do I turn this on? Oh, did I break it? Instead of really being free to experiment, that our students, we give them something and the first thing they're doing is pushing every button, lever, whatever on the device, and they're not really concerned about that, where we're more worried about because we know the cost.
While you're in this app, you can hit the home button 3 times very quickly. And this menu will show up. So it'll shrink the screen, and it gives you these options. So you could turn off motion if you wanted, and you could turn off touch, but those I would always leave on. But the hardware buttons turn off. So any button on the iPad will not work while they're playing the game. Now see, this app has a thing for more
I
apps
will
to
spend
go on.
more time to figure out things, but when somebody come and tells me, oh, you need to do this or this app or that app, and share ideas together and teach you, it makes things so easy, very easy.
Mary found many challenges that she didn't anticipate.
Well, the biggest one was getting reliable internet access. So once we got past that hurdle, I was able to use it in the classroom, but the problem came in with the student. His Wi-Fi he's using to connect is through his phone. And so when we practiced after school and also from home one day. It did work. We were able to connect. He talked me through it, which is kind of fun for him because I was clueless.
We have kids coming into schools now with phones, with mobile devices, who can't imagine that they could not access the internet because their relationship to technology and to time and to information is totally different than what we grew up with.
The big disappointment was the first time we tried to connect live in class, we were unable to connect because he's using his phone for his hotspot, and it wasn't a strong enough connection at that time of the day or that particular day or whatever.
The distance learning didn't work, and I thought, I have these iPads, let's see what we can do with them. And it just started out, my seniors being, I teach senior comp, preparing them for college composition and just college classes in general. So research is a big player in that. And so instead of having to vie for time in the computer lab by having the iPads, and then just a handful of kids had tablets of their own or phones that were internet accessible, because I had wireless in my room for the virtual learning, I could let my kids use the iPads combined with my yearbook computers, and I could get almost everybody online at once, or at least in pairs, which is much more doable than 3 or 4 kids waiting for one computer.
As we evolve in the technology world each and every year, it's important for the district to evolve our policies as well. So we're making sure that in our schools, specifically this past year in our high schools, that students have the opportunity based on our policy to use these mobile devices in the classroom. Or every person that walks into the building, if they have a mobile device, they would have the opportunity to be able to get on the Wi-Fi or the internet.
Providing mobile technology access for students in Toledo Public Schools is something the district as a whole is trying to accomplish.
Mobile technology is very important to Toledo Public Schools. It supports our mission and vision, which we are technology oriented. In addition, we know that as part of our mission and vision, we want to have all of our students college and career ready, and mobile technology is a big part of that.
This venue has really, they respond very well to it. And they think they're so impressed with it. And I'm like, I didn't create this, I'm just taking advantage of it. But they really seem to, in addition to liking how the app works, they seem to appreciate that I'm trying to reach them at their level, if that makes sense. They're all on their phones. Why not use those powers for good and let them do their research on their phones? A lot of them, they would come and show me their outline written on their little tiny phone or their research that they were looking stuff up from. And so it allows that. The reality is they're going to have their phones, and the reality is we can fight them about it, or we can teach them, use it in these circumstances, and then it gets put away. I have found since I let them use them on certain occasions, they really are less resistant when I tell them this isn't the occasion.
Having the support of your peers is helpful when implementing a new device, but as Mary found, you can also find your own way.
Possibly systematically, things work better if there's board and administrative support. But I've also found it doesn't stop that lone renegade who decides this is what I'm going to do because I really believe in it, and I'm going to show others how well it works and what the benefits are.
I can be bulldozery when I want to be. They told me I'd never get my iPad before the rest of them came in, and I did, and they'll never approve this, and they did. So, I have a good reason. It's not like I'm just doing this to have a tantrum, but I'll figure out a way to make it worth their while. With the teachers, what I started doing, because at first they were all just like, oh, I'm not going to do a virtual classroom. Well, then the art teacher was interested. So then we just talked about it. Well, and then people would ask questions. So we just answer their questions and let it go. And then the next time I'd say, hey, if you want, I can show you how this works. Yeah, we'll do that. It was this growing interest as opposed to this, we can't do this. You open that door a crack and all of a sudden it was just like, whew, it was great. It was great.
So there are those people who are the innovators, the pilots, the people who want to go out and really explore.
During lunches, they're trying to offer this brown bag seminar where various teachers can present things that might be of interest to other teachers, and you just come up during your lunch and meet in the computer lab and we show each other. So I offered, this sounds interesting, but I said once I learned, I'm happy to show you guys what I've learned so far. And those of you who already have iPads are going to take it and run with it, and then maybe you can come back and show us more, because I'm the baby at this, but I'm very enthusiastic and I'm very excited about it. And I think that I'm not real good at hiding my enthusiasm, so hopefully it's infectious.
While all 3 classrooms had a positive experience, each teacher faced unexpected challenges.
The drawback for the virtual learning was, of course, the child not having the access from home. In my district, in my school, so many of our kids don't have access at home. They don't have computers at home. They certainly don't have internet access and wireless access especially. Some of them can get on there from their phones, but as we learned, that's not going to be strong enough for some of these, FaceTime or Skype or whatever. They just can't do it.
I mean, I'm thrilled just to have the one. They are gaining from one, but it's not enough. I mean, obviously, the more you have, the more gains you're going to see.
Not all of the students, they have iPad. There is some of them, they have like regular tablets, Galaxy, for example, or something else that it's not iPad. And there is also a big difference because some of the apps, you can download it only on the iPad, on the Apple iPad. So it's also exposed me to another type of technology. It's the same thing, but it's another way of looking at things. So it really opened the mind for everybody, the teacher and the students. And for me, it was like a new thing because I used only the computer. So it was really good idea for me to be exposed to all things and to feel relaxed and comfortable about using it.
I mean, we've done things a certain way for a long time. So this is really new and not overwhelming, but when you're comfortable doing things a certain way, it's hard to break out of that comfort zone and try something new.
Another challenge Mary faced was finding apps that were appropriate for her older students.
I'm finding that there are very few apps that are geared towards high school students or even college students. There's a lot of apps for the younger kids, for the elementary, for grade school, not so much for high school and not for language arts.
7th grade and up, I think we're kind of missing the boat. And probably the reason for that is they're not quite as interested in the games or the fun or the bells and whistles or the shooting stars and fun sounds. I think we have to teach them how to learn using adult apps and using the kinds of things that I might use in my own life at their level. And somebody may come up with some things for them, but I think we have to take a look at their understanding, their knowledge level, and how they deal with content so that we can use some apps that are already out there.
Overall, the teachers saw measurable change in their students in a short period of time.
Nawaf, what's the word? Hug. It's hard to imagine that we didn't use it at all 6 months ago because it's really become quite a big center, focal point of our classroom and of our daily routines and our lessons.
It made a huge difference in language arts. I can see in math too, because there is lots of math apps that it's kind of playing, and I direct the children to the apps that they needed according to their level.
So it's supplementing the curriculum, it's not replacing the curriculum for the students, but their reading rates have just skyrocketed.
It teach more than I was expecting. It made a huge growth in their social skills and how to solve a conflict between them.
With one iPad, we have 18 students. I thought there would be a lot more, lot more difficulty sharing, many more problems, but we've had no problems whatsoever. And actually, they actually seem to know how to respect the iPad. I haven't had to even remind them much about that. It's just, obviously it's much more natural for them than it has been for me.
Things that I used to teach or stay with for many hours, for example, it takes less. So I teach more subjects, and we finish the subjects more than you anticipate that it will do. So it really, really made a huge difference, in my opinion.
The educational resource specialist showed Mary the Trading Cards app, which allows students to create their own flashcards for assignments.
Now, you're a facilitator of the content and also a person who needs to push them into creativity.
They like making decisions. They like to have ownership. So I can tell them, hey, do you guys want to do a different background per group, or do you want to do Do we want to have one background for characters and one background for places, and let them kind of make those decisions, and they feel like they did something important, and it's, you know, they like that. They like to have that, feel like they decided and made some decisions.
The day where we debuted the trading cards app with the freshmen, I invited everybody. I invited my mentor, I invited the department head, I invited the vice principal of curriculum. I'm like, come on into the room, it's a party. And so people would drop in.
You're gonna do cards for the parents, right? Because their parents, did their parents, how did their parents shape their decisions?
The students are very resistant to the old school, you know, memorize this and learn this by rote and look up the words, and they don't that's not going to work for them. They're used to being interactive with what they do and stuff, and even if they weren't used to it, it's a more effective means of educating anyway. If you can get a student to generate the questions, like ideally, eventually I'd like to take that trading cards app and go a step further and have the kids generate their own questions to ask the other students. Like, here's the questions I'm asking, what would you ask? That kind of thing, because if you can get them to generate it, they have ownership. It's anybody, not just students. The more ownership you have, the more you retain the information, and the more interesting it is to you, the more interest you have in it.
For Amy's students, handwriting can be challenging. She found an app that teaches the students the correct way to make a letter.
Would you like to work on the iPad for a minute? I'm going to have you work on your handwriting, okay? And because there's a particular way we want them to write, and not just draw their letters, but write and start from top to bottom. And there's an app really that they have to do it the correct way. You have to start at the top, and you have to carry it all the way down to the bottom. Or the letter, it won't appear for you. That app is amazing because handwriting's hard, and that does require a lot of one-on-one with the students. But having an app like that, I know they have to do it the correct way. There's no way, even if I'm not sitting there watching them, there's no way they can go wrong with this. They absolutely are going to learn it correctly. It's amazing because they're doing it on their own, at their own pace, as many times as they want, and they're getting it correctly every time. So it kind of, you know, reinvigorates me as a teacher. You know, you want to kind of push harder and learn something new, and really then the kids, they respond in such a great way to it that I think it pushes you just to do a little bit more.
Now, you've got this poplet coming out of a secondary poplet. Is that what you wanted?
I met with Dusty, and she showed me a bunch of educational apps, which were a huge hit. The first one I tried with the seniors was the Poplet app, which is mind mapping. I'm told it's now called. I still think of it as brainstorming. And the kids, I thought, oh, this is cute. For me, it was like, oh, this is a fun little thing to play with. But the kids, their responses were like, I just lit a firecracker in a room. The one boy is like, this is the best thing ever. Can we use Poplets to turn in our outlines? I'm like, okay. I mean, it doesn't matter to me as long as I can understand your organization. You can't turn me in one that looks like a sunburst, but if you can make it stack. And they did. I had 4 or 5 of them make their outlines, turn in their outlines for the research paper in Poplet form, which they just were delighted that I let them do that. And I'm like, I don't care, as long as I can understand it, that's what counts. But you can't be afraid to let them do it. You can't be afraid of that. You have to manage it. It takes work on our end. We have to manage the groups and make sure they're on task and stuff. But if you can give them that freedom, they'll surprise you. And in my experience, it's worked out very well. It's a very, very powerful way for them to learn.
Mobile technology is gaining momentum in Northwest Ohio. Teachers need to have access to devices and also to sustained professional development in order to find new ways to reach students.
I'm so grateful that we even have one. So obviously, yeah, great, one, that's more than what we had. But can I see how much more benefit there would be with more than one? Absolutely, absolutely.
The 21st century has to be brought into the curriculum, into the everyday activities of our students. If we want them to be digital citizens, you know, they just have to have experience and exposure. So this enthusiasm between the teachers and the students and the parents have kind of given a new focus.
Also, the parents, they liked the idea that they have educational apps that the children can do at home also, so it's kind of enhancing what you are teaching.
The 3s and the 4s, they're so comfortable. They're comfortable with everything having to do with technology, and really they don't need me that much to instruct them how to do things, and I'm sure in another year they're going to be telling me something.
Technology keeps moving forward, there's no doubt about it, but it does do it in waves, and I think, you know, we're kind of, we've hit the peak and we're riding that wave now of mobile devices, tablets, things like that. I think the next wave is probably going to be better use of those things, and that's what we're going to see, maybe more depth to what we're doing. Maybe a proliferation of apps or different kinds of apps where there are holes in what's serving students.
And we've got to, as teachers, not be afraid to try to meet them on their ground, because technology's moving and we can either keep up with it or not, but not serves no purpose.